Welcome to the Inside Carolina Postgame podcast. I'm your host for this one, Jon Seiglie. I'm joined by Sherrell McMillan following, I don't think it's hyperbole, Sherrell, the biggest win in Carolina Duke rivalry history. Wish that Tommy could be here for this one, but he was one of the lucky ones that got down to New Orleans. He was in the building. He will be giving his thoughts with Vipolis, Dewey, I'm sure the rest of the crowd as well on Sunday. Be looking for that, Tar Heel fans. But we're coming to you just minutes after Carolina pulled off the upset again, Sherrell. As you sit here, man, just like what in the world is going through your mind at this point, my friend?
You start to get destiny vibes. I know every team in the Final Four feels like they're a team of destiny, but the way North Carolina has won these last or two of the last three games against UCLA, a Final Four team last year, and then against Duke, who's most people think is the most talented team in the country, you start to wonder if something is like kind of ordained to happen. And I don't think a lot of people gave UNC a chance in this game. It really unfolded not dissimilarly to the game in Cameron. Now, North Carolina obviously didn't win by 13 points, but in the lead up to the game, it was Coach K and Duke's going to win because Duke's more talented, and they're not going to forget about what happened in Cameron, and they're going to avenge that loss. And that was the rhetoric, going into the game, which ignored the fact that Carolina has played just as well in the NCAA tournament. They beat a number one seed twice in one game. Yeah. They beat UCLA. They beat UCLA, who came, within inches of playing for the title last year. And then they beat St. Peter's, who people are like, oh, it's a 15 seed, but that 15 seed beat Kentucky and Purdue. So they earned their way to the Final Four. And it was one of those games where it wasn't pretty. You could tell that there were nerves. You could tell that all the guys on both sides really, really wanted it. It was a hard-nosed, hard-played game. Yeah. And those kind of games is not always pretty. But I think what UNC was able to do was just hang around. They never let Duke get, out of reach. It got to 7 one time, and they immediately, I think, went on a quick 4-0 or 6-0 run to pull it back. And every time Duke you thought the knockout shot was coming, where Keels or Griffin or somebody hits a 3 to take it to 10, it just never quite happened. And they hung around, and then the story of the season has been in the second half, Caleb Love is the closer.
Caleb Love, yeah.
And that's what happened tonight. I mean, he had 22 points in the second half, so he's doing exactly what he did, against UCLA. What he did really most of the season. He is North Carolina's closer, and he hit, pending what happens on Monday, the biggest shot of his career, to give UNC the lead it wouldn't relinquish.
Yeah, and it's a trope with these big football stadiums where they play basketball that it takes shooters some time to get accustomed, especially when you're shooting from deep. And I do think that affected especially Brady Manick in the first half. But let's start in that first half, Sherrell, because I think the man of the game, it's either Caleb Love or RJ Davis to me. And yes, Love hit the biggest shot of the game, but Carolina wouldn't have even been in the game at all, I don't think, if not for RJ Davis and his performance in that first half. And he did carry it on through the second half. But just talk about just the development that you've seen from these guards and over the course of the season. To me, it's that has been by far the biggest storyline of this Tar Heel season.
Yeah, I think heading into the season, even heading into last season, it was, what will the freshman guards do last year? And this year, it's what will the sophomore guards do? When they play well, typically North Carolina has a chance to win, and when they don't, they don't. And tonight, tonight was very interesting because at different points of the game, different guys kept UNC in it. So there was a stretch there in the first half where it was all RJ Davis. I think he had 10 points, and the rest of the team had 8 at one point in the first half. Then there was a stretch where Brady Manick got hot and hit a couple threes, because he had a poor first half. I mean, he'll be the first to tell you. He did not play well. He had turnovers. I think he had 1 field goal. So there was a stretch there, kind of midway through the second half where he kept North Carolina close. And then you have Caleb Love, again, in the second half, just taking big shot after big shot. There was a stretch there where Carolina was up 6, and it seemed like he was trying to hit a home run. He wanted to end the game right there, and he missed a couple of shots, and that allowed Duke to get back in it. But again, with Love, you have to withstand those couple of shots in the middle to get the one at the end. So I think North Carolina fans will take it. But yeah, the guards, I mean, they're pretty phenomenal. I mean, they play, I'm trying to look at the official stats. I don't see minutes.
Let's see. I have it as, let's see here.
Oh, here, I see it.
Yeah. 40 for Love and 36 for RJ.
Yeah, so I mean, the physical burden on their bodies to do what they're doing is incredible. So you have to allow for some turnovers and a couple of plays that maybe aren't their best. But when they are honed in and focused, you can kind of see just how talented they are. I mean, tonight, Love was 11 for 20 from the field. Davis was 6 of 13. So 17 of 33. You will take those guys shooting 50%. When they shoot, I have to go look it up, but I'd imagine when they shoot 50%, North Carolina's never lost. I would imagine.
It's either they haven't or maybe one or two over the season. But I mean,
somebody go check that. Somebody go check that, when
check.
you listen to this and put it on the message board.
The play that I think signified the growth, especially in Caleb Love, was in the second half. It was when in the closing minutes, it was when Duke and Carolina were just trading baskets. And it was a bit of a broken play. The shot clock was going down and Caleb Love was open at the 3, but it was the only Duke player between him and the basket was Williams. And that's a moment where in my brain, I was kind of worried that Caleb was going to take a 3 that he wasn't really hitting that well tonight, but instead he drove it, went right by Williams, who had 4 fouls and couldn't really defend on that well, and just hit the beautiful scoop shot. And I think that gave Carolina another 1-point lead. That's the type of development that I think has really stood out. And I can't speak highly enough of the coaching staff that have got these players to this position. I mean, when we were talking over the summer, the whole IC crew, the questions with Coach with Coach Hubert Davis were legitimate, especially during the season. I mean, there were some times where it was like, what is Hubert going to do? And man, the way that he has got these kids to buy in, Sherrell, just speak to that, because it is a truly special thing that Hubert Davis and his staff have done so far.
I think that's the biggest thing is the buy-in. That's what changed everything. You've heard him talk about over and over how he wants these guys to have their own experiences and have their own testimonies to the Carolina program and all that. And it took, I think, the coaching staff relaying to the players theirs. And then it took them honestly getting knocked down and almost knocked out against Pittsburgh and a couple of other games to really, for them to say, okay, guys, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? How can we be more together? And the togetherness, I mean, I've talked all year about how talented North Carolina is, but in this game, there was no question who the more talented team was.
Yeah.
And I think because of that togetherness, the way North Carolina plays, that's why they won the game is because they believe in each other. They are empowered by each other and by their head coach, and it's resulting in wins. And now they are amazingly somehow 40 minutes away from a national championship. I mean, think about this, Jon. This is not hyperbole because I've been thinking about it for a while. Hubert Davis in the last month has 2 of probably the 5 biggest non-national championship wins in Carolina history. 2. Hubert Davis, head coach, in the last month, the most storied basketball program. Okay, for those who might be listening, one of the 3 or 4 most storied programs. I think it's the most storied. He has 2 of the greatest non-title wins in the last month. I mean, just think about that. I mean, that is amazing, and it's something that we just did not see coming 6 weeks ago.
First year head coach Hubert Davis.
Head coach.
God, it's been incredible. And the buy-in, just the way that every player on this Tar Heel team knows their role and they execute the role. I mean, I think if you had told a lot of Tar Heel fans before the game that Armando Bacot, he would get 20, was it either 20 or 21 rebounds? I forget what he ended up with, 21.
Mm-hmm.
If you told that he got 21 rebounds, people would have gone, oh, okay. But then only 11 points. Can Carolina win with Armando Bacot only chipping 11 points? But they were hard-earned points. He never stopped. He played through whatever injury he had there in that second half. But even when he had to come out, Puff Johnson came in, played big minutes. Leaky Black did phenomenal today. Another performance that it's not going to show up on the stat sheet. But if you just watched Leaky on both offense and defense doing exactly what he knew he needed to do, it was incredible. And I think that knowing of the roles and execution is how Carolina won tonight. Is that kind of driving with your overall thoughts here as we sit here?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, entering the game, a lot of people thought the game plan this time for Duke was instead of kind of doubling the high ball screen, it was going to be to allow whoever is guarding Leaky to roam and kind of be that plus defender, to double on Baycott and double on shooters and all that stuff. To Leaky's credit, he came out and hit 2 threes, and that causes, even though he took 5, just hitting those 2 gave them just enough hesitation on giving him space that it opens other things up, driving lanes, this game in particular, for the guards. But I mean, as usual, he was tremendous. 8 points, which is really good for him. 9 rebounds. Carolina had 50 rebounds this game. There was a point where it felt like they were getting out rebounded because it felt like every loose ball was going to Duke. But they ended up with 50 rebounds, ended up winning the rebounding battle 50-41. So that's huge for one. He had 2 assists, a block, just doing Leaky things, playing all 40 minutes. And if you go and look at his cover, AJ Griffin, he had, I think it was 27 or 29 points in that game at UNC. And in the last 2 games against Carolina, I think he had 3 or 4 in Cameron, and he had 6 today. He was 1 of 7 from the field. And Leaky's people have rightfully so started calling him the eraser. And I mean, it's an earned nickname. It's not something that I think is just, fan propaganda or UNC propaganda or anything. He legitimately has become an eraser. And, I think he's going to have the matchup on Agbaji on Monday. That's the other thing where this game meant so much around here that it's kind of like, oh yeah, they're playing for a national championship on Monday. Yeah, there's another game. Looking through the box score, just a couple of other things that kind of stuck out. Brady Manick, again, he had some stretches there, was not rough, but he had 3 blocks is what they credited him with in 39 minutes. So he played some tough defense. Paulo Banchero, and let me say this, I know this is a rivalry and everything, and people aren't here to hear us praise the rivalry and all that, but if you take out our, the fandom of our subscribers and the fandom of Duke people, what a tremendous college basketball game, man. I mean, it lived up to it. Jade Billis has this thing about how Carolina Duke always delivers, but I mean, it was a slugfest. It was just back and forth, big shot after big shot, play after play.
And Manick's defense on Banchero down the stretch. I mean, it was incredible. And he hit that huge 3 right before Caleb Love hit his, where I mean, I think Duke was up by 2 maybe, but it gave Carolina that lead again, that 1 to 2 point lead. And I mean, I couldn't believe it because that shot was tough by Brady that he hit. It was coming off the screen, top of the corner, at the top of the key, and just drained it. Yeah.
John, also just looking, and we're just free flowing, but looking at the box score, how Hubert Davis has talked about keeping Carolina principles, but adding kind of his new flair on the game and how to play. Well, I mean, this game to me was a perfect example of it. You have the rebounding, again, 50 rebounds in the game for UNC, but they also were plus 15 from beyond the arc. So you see the foundation, which is rebounding and securing the ball, getting it into the bigs, but you also see kind of the new things that he wants to do. And for the second straight game, I mean, in Cameron, UNC had 55 second half points against Duke, and tonight they had 47. So you can see kind of how UNC, as the game goes on, I said it with Joey, it's like a running game. It just kind of eventually wears you down. And that's what happened. And Caleb Love closed it.
Well, and let's talk about that. Hand to God or whatever, if you believe in, when Caleb Love took that shot, did you think it was going in?
I told my wife before the possession started, I said, Amanda, Caleb Love is going to take a 3 right on this possession. I said, the question, I promise you, I will go get her and bring her. I said, the only question is whether or not it goes in, because that's his role on the team. That's not a criticism at all, but that's his role on the team, is to take and make huge, gigantic shots. So you knew that he was going to take the shot. It was just a matter of whether or not it went in. And the kid, man, all the way back to Syracuse and Louisville and UCLA, and even there's another game where he hit a huge 3.
Anyway, there's almost too many at this point.
The kid has that. He has it. He's always saying, I'm him. I'm that dude. He said other few choice things that I can't repeat on the podcast, but they're all accurate. I mean, it's fair. You kind of wish, we've been saying it for really the whole year. I wish he could just bottle that 10 minutes up in the second half and apply it over 40. But again, when you're playing the minutes he is and chasing guys around screens and playing great defense, it's very difficult. But just a tremendous game from him. Really, everybody played a part. Everyone who was in the game at some point played a part. So just a tremendous team win for Hubert Davis and the staff. They made some amazing adjustments. I'm just talking. I don't really know what to say because this is, like I said, the second time where we're like, is that the biggest non-championship win? I think that's the biggest non-championship win. I still think the game in Cameron was the biggest regular season win.
Oh, yeah.
People are going to call me prisoner in the moment, but that's fine.
I mean, you're talking about Coach K's first loss was to Carolina, and his last loss was to Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, and that's we haven't talked about that. We haven't talked about that. And again, I know people don't want to hear it, but he is a great coach. He's had an amazing career. But how, if you're a Carolina fan, which anyone with a brain who's watching this is, that is the most amazing way for his career to end. I mean, it is. You couldn't write a script better. And now you have Roy Williams's other school against. Now, I saw a national writer say this is the Roy Williams retirement tour, and it kind of is because he got his first love against his second love, and it should be a tremendous game on Monday. But I think the players should take another 4 or 5 hours and really enjoy this. Then it gets better.
It's got to be like I haven't even watched the locker room videos yet. We'll do that as soon as this podcast is over. I can just imagine those guys are going crazy right now. It's going to be kind of difficult to reel it in. You got 24 hours, and then like you said, they got to get right back on Monday. So yeah.
I don't know. I think now it's okay. Brady Manick, you've got one game left in your career. When your career is going to end. It's going to end on Monday. It's just a matter of how it's going to end. Yeah. So I think that is huge. And then, just keep this stat in the back of your mind. I've been tweeting it out for a couple of weeks now, but on 5 days rest, UNC is undefeated, including tonight. And on 1 day's rest, they are also undefeated this season. So there are some trends going, but again, Kansas is a great team. They are. And then you have to worry about Armando Bacot's ankle. How is that going to react? How's he going to be able to play on Monday? Because David McCormick is a load. Funny story, all those guys used to play AAU together. David McCormick was on Team Loaded. Armando Bacot was on that team. Leaky Black was on that team that year. So there's also a lot of familiarity between Kansas and UNC as well.
Nice. It's going to be an amazing game. And I mean, we were talking a little bit before the podcast began, and in terms of storylines going into the game, my thinking was that if Duke beat Carolina, it would be an interesting game in the moment, but to really have a Duke storyline, they would have to win the national championship. K goes out on top. The headlines write themselves. For Carolina, though, I mean, they've already made their story. Monday is going to be the potential fairy tale ending. And at this point, I mean, people can keep on doubting them. I don't know why they would at this point, but they will. And we'll see what happens, my friend.
I think I saw the opening line. Kansas is opening up as a 4-point favorite, which is the same that Duke was, so the 4-point favorite.
God, man. Final thoughts here, Rel, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. And I'm sure there's going to be a ton of coverage coming out on Sunday. Everyone, keep your eyes open, keep your podcast feed, YouTube. We're going to be putting out tons of content. Keep your eyes open for that. But just final thoughts, Sherrell, what you got at this point, man?
I would say just thinking about some key moments in the game. Obviously, the fouls on Mark Williams were big to get those early. UNC didn't really capitalize on them, however, until later in the game. But just the ability of the guards, that you said earlier, to attack as opposed to always settling for threes. It's okay to settle for threes sometimes because when you're good shooters, they're good shots. But I think for North Carolina to withstand kind of the awful, we call it awful offensive performance in the first half and only be down by 3. I think that really gave them some positivity head into the locker room. By the same token, I think Duke probably was feeling good at halftime as well, with Mark Williams only playing a couple minutes and them not shooting well from deep and still being up by 3. So both teams probably felt pretty good. But in the end, I think it was just, it honestly was just North Carolina's 3-point shooting was, just a little bit better than Duke's. And that is, really the major difference in the game. The numbers are pretty similar. Both teams shot 42%. UNC was at 38% from 3. Duke was at 22%. Both Duke shot 20 free throws. UNC shot 24. 50 rebounds for UNC, 41 for Duke. 19 fouls for Carolina, 18 fouls for Duke. So outside of the 3-point shot, the numbers are pretty similar. I guess shooting in a dome isn't as terrible as they say.
Well, and Carolina didn't back down. They showed their toughness, and those are the intangibles as well that the box score is not going to show. And again, just the words fail to describe how good of a job Coach Hubert Davis and his team and his staff have done with this team. We'll go ahead and sign off at this point, though, Sherrell. Everyone listening in, I'll go ahead and give the Giant T-shirt plug at this point because I have an inkling that there might be some pretty cool Giant T-shirt products coming out in the near future. So make sure that everyone go there. If you are an Inside Carolina subscriber, you get your 10% off of orders. But Jon Seiglie for the Inside Carolina crew here, Sherrell McMillan, everyone else, everyone stay safe out there, and we'll talk with y'all again soon.